Hi, and welcome to 9 to 42, the podcast from the team at the Guitar Show UK. Join us for interviews, updates and chat with artists, influencers and those that manufacture the gear that we love. Hello and welcome to 9 to 42, which is the podcast from the guys at the Guitar Show and the Bass Show. Now that's right, Jace, that's what we've settled on, isn't it?
Yes, that's what we've settled on.
So not the Guitar Show, not the Guitar Show, the Bass Show, but the Guitar Show and the Bass Show.
Yeah, that'll do.
I'm actually more comfortable with that now. It's only taken 8 episodes, this series, to get that right, really, but I'm feeling zen with that. What have you been up to, my friend?
So this week I sold the last available stand at the Guitar Show, which was in the Bass Show. The event's now completely full. I've sorted out the live stage lineup, and I'll be dripping out the performers sort of every couple of weeks. Released Dagon this week. And it obviously went very well because towards the end of yesterday, I got a notification off Google to say my website had spiked. So that's good.
Yeah. No, I was reading Grace Notes the other day because you do a newsletter, don't you?
I do.
You don't mention 942 at all in your newsletter, apart from a little link at the bottom.
I have done.
Right, okay.
Issues ago.
Right,
I did a whole thing on it.
Oh, I must have missed that one. I dip in and out of your output, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, and the rest of the day, I've been writing an article for Record Collector on Def Leppard.
Which we were just chatting about. Anyway, let's not keep our guest waiting, because our guest is probably going to drop off if you and I keep banging on. We have Paul Quinn with us. Now, Paul is a guitarist, founding member of Saxon, and currently playing with The Cards, and he's sat very comfortably at home and he's sipping on a glass of red. Paul, you've got the best life going by the sounds of things.
Well, I wouldn't normally have one before the yard arm, but I thought I'd try and free the brain up a little.
What's the yard arm in your world then? Because for me it's about 7 o'clock. So where's your yard arm sitting?
Yeah, it's around there. Yeah.
Right, okay. But you've treated yourself today just to help for larynx support.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely. We were just talking actually about we were quick chat before we started because I was diverted on the motorway through your birthplace the other day because you were born in Maltby, weren't you? Which is not far away from where I live.
Amazing, isn't it? It's a small county.
Well, it's not. It's a massive county, but it's a small podcast world.
Uh-huh.
And you're still in Barnsley, which is where you've always been, because Saxon were a Barnsley band, weren't they?
Biff was based in Barnsley, as was I, but the rest of the guys were nearer to Doncaster.
And that's a big deal in Yorkshire terms, just for those who don't know.
What is?
The difference between Barnsley and Doncaster. You can't just lump them together as Yorkshire if you're from our way.
Hardly. They've got a cathedral, we don't.
That's right. So you were saying, you and Biff are from Barnsley, the rest of the band from Doncaster?
Other than Pete Gill, who... We originally had a drummer from Chesterfield, but Pete Gill was Sheffield. And I think also I've seen evidence that he might be from Conisbrough originally.
Again, for anybody who's listening who doesn't know some of these places, they are, if you looked on a map, they're relatively close together, but they're very different if you live around here. Come on then, Paul. How did it all start for you? Obviously founding member of Saxon. Were you always going to be a musician?
I was in that position that I had different people to look up to at school that were guitarists, one of whom could play Freddie King's Hideaway that Clapton covered. So that was always a goal, that I wanted to play like, well, originally Clapton until I heard Hendrix and everybody else after that. The kind of guy that used to draw guitars on school books and get detentions for it.
What was the first guitar?
It was a Spanish style thing that was virtually unplayable, but before that there was a plastic one that was an Elvis Presley with a chord box that you just press one button and got a chord.
Oh, if only it was that easy.
Yeah, right.
So you progressed through the Spanish. Obviously, I probably had a similar thing as my first guitar. Dreadful thing. I mean, the action was about an inch, at the 12th fret, and it had nylon strings as well, which I could never actually tune properly.
Less wear and tear though on the pads.
Yeah, and then I had a cheap, nasty, I think Japanese Hondo Les Paul custom thing. So where did you go after the cheap Spanish?
I can never remember which model it was. I was sold it as a Lucky 7 Rossetti, but actually it was a different model. It was the 335 shape. It still had a flat fingerboard, which is, virtually impossible to learn a barcode on.
So did you start playing in bands straight away?
No, I kind of I gave it a few attempts and didn't give up, but didn't really practice much until Clapton and Hendrix came along and Jeff Beck. At that point, I kind of sat up and took notice that I should practice more.
I mean, it's quite a high bar to aim for, isn't it? Clapton, Hendrix, and Beck. But they're so different to what you end up writing. How was that journey? How did you get from Hendrix?
Okay, it went through Zeppelin and Purple, and things like Born to Be Wild was part of that journey towards heavy metal.
Yeah,
because it does mention Heavy Metal Thunder as well.
It does.
So when I was reading on. By the way, it's very difficult to find information out about you, Paul. Very difficult to find information about you. You're very well hidden.
Yeah, I've not particularly put myself out there as it were.
No. So doing a bit of research of this were quite difficult. But you had a job in a university in a language lab. Was that right?
Mm-hmm.
So clearly you went from school into working life. So music's going on in the background. I'm assuming at that point in time.
As semi-pro, yeah.
Right. So you were gigging and getting paid for gigging, but you'd got a day job as well.
Well, beer money, yeah. It's not exactly pay.
Right. Okay. But you were you're being recognised with a few pints, if nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. So at what point? How long did you end up working before? Because ultimately it's Saxon that really breaks, isn't it? But there were a couple of bands before that kind of merged together a little bit. What was the first point that you thought I could do this for a living?
I think when I was offered the job of a job in a band that was turning pro, and I jumped at it, as many people do until their wives say differently.
So that Son of a Bitch?
No, that was Pagan Chorus that I turned pro with. I was in a band called C.P. Watson Band, then Mighty Mouth. Earlier than that, Blue Notes, which I was playing rhythm in, but I decided I wanted to be a lead player and branched out.
Right. And have you started writing your own material at this point?
Not until, on a kind of one a year basis I was writing, but until Biff offered me to join his fledgling band, which was Coast at that point. The opportunity didn't really arise because I was in a covers band, a kind of...
Right.
I hesitate to use the word cabaret, but we were wearing suits.
So Coast comes along mid-70s. That's the first time you run into Biff.
Mm-hmm. A bit earlier than that, yeah.
Did you know him before, or
we'd probably met in the local music store, which was called Kitchens, but before that, Crosslands, because they used to let us jam upstairs and just take guitars off the wall, which we usually used anyway. But it was so nice of Neil Crossland, the son of the owner, to allow jamming and you know, occasionally Adrian Morris with his harmonica.
Was that a big part of the scene at that point in time? Did a lot of musicians? Because it's interesting. There's been a lot in the news recently. You know, we've lost a lot of music stores. There's been a lot of music stores closed down just this year. PMT closed down this year. GAT closed down this year. Is it? I suppose it's quite hard to not to think about the role that a music shop would have played in musicians meeting, getting together, and bands being formed.
Yeah, that is sick in the English sense, not the American sense.
Yeah, because the kids just don't seem to do it in quite the same way. So I guess, you know, weekends you were down at the music store hanging out
before joining bands, and even during, you know. Yeah, because we'd find each other there and say, "Do you fancy joining this lineup?"
So it's all very fluid at that point. Then people coming and going in lineups all the time.
They would usually last a year. Yeah, it sounds pathetic, but it was actually a big deal.
But then, actually, if you look at you know the bits that I've seen written down, there's Coast, which kind of then morphs in, you know, to Son of a Bitch, which ultimately morphs in becomes Saxon. So actually, as much as you say that they're a year, actually in reality, it's just part of a journey, isn't it? Yeah,
quite a few of them lasted 2 years, but it's just they all headed into the Saxon direction.
And when did they? Because obviously, like you said, I mean, the cabaret band, you know, in Pagan Chorus have got that kind of cabaret thing going on. At what point did it become evident that this was going to be sort of a heavy rock stroke metal journey for you?
I think when I bought a Park 75 and a Marshall 412, I thought, this is very interesting. I can get a lot of interesting noises out of this.
Did you, as sort of like the fledgling Saxon, was that kind of like a discussion that you had that you were going to go heavier and heavier?
Ooh. Well, I think if you've heard the first album, you'll realise that we were prog fans as well.
Yeah.
And that came about because I and Biff were listening to Yes, Genesis, and other bands of that ilk. Quite a few of them would come by Barnsley Tech in the concert room, and I've actually played on the same stage as Genesis as a semi-pro musician. Their first album tour, they played Cleethorpes' Humberston Foundry School.
Wow.
And they wanted to get off afterwards, so we actually finished the show. They played the middle set of our two.
Amazing. So you go from being a bit proggy on the first album, and then it goes straight into Wheels of Steel, which is one of those classic. I can't remember if it was on Axe Attack Volume 1 or 2, but it kind of like it should have been if it wasn't. And that was kind of like, those were the albums that when I was 12 were kind of like the introduction to heavy metal. So how do you make that change from album 1 to album 2?
In a way, it was decided for us that we were already writing biker anthems like Sounds of the Highway. So when that hit the heavy metal charts from the Soundhouse, Neil Kay's chart, everybody sat up and took notice, including Radio 1, soon to be heavy metal jocks. You know, we got a lot of help from both Sounds, the paper, and early Kerrang, and various DJs.
Oh, I'm trying to think back now. I mean, Tommy Vance is the obvious one.
Tommy Vance is the one, yeah. And Alan Freeman.
Right, okay. I only know Alan Freeman from like Drive Time on Radio 2 about 10 years ago or something.
No, he did a rock show as well.
Right, okay.
I'm not sure whether it was on Radio 1 at that point. It might have been actually on Capital Radio.
Yeah, cool. and then follows sort of Strong Arm on the Law of the Law, and then Denim and Leather, and it's kind of like consolidate what you've done with Wheels of Steel, really.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got well, I'll tell you this. So 1984, so it would have been 1983 actually, because I saw you at the Birmingham Odeon on the 5th of Feb in 1984 because my mate from school won 2 tickets and a copy of the Crusader album via the Birmingham Evening Mail. We went along. I actually found the set list on whatever that website is that does the set lists.
I know it. Setlist.fm.
That's the one. And I had a brilliant time.
Good. So did we.
Do you remember those sort of like tours in the early 80s?
Yeah. I can remember the guy in a turban that used to show up at every Birmingham Odeon.
Really?
Well, he stuck out, didn't he? This white turban, like. So you tend to play to the people that are look a bit unusual.
We were on the balcony, obviously with the free tickets.
Uh,
You know, it was my favourite venue of all of them. I was devastated when they shut it down.
so handy next to the station.
Yeah, yeah, it was, and like so iconic. And I saw so many of my first sort of gigs there. You know, I saw. Looking at this, I'd seen Def Leppard 2 months earlier. The year before, I'd seen Whitesnake and Slade, which must have been like a home gig for them. It was just incredible. And the thing is, I've still got a lot of the ticket stubs, and you could rock up and see a band for like £3.50. It was brilliant.
Have you worked it out in today's money?
Well, it's still not going to be the 150 quid or whatever it is it? So,
It isn't. No.
that when I saw Whitesnake there, which was possibly the Christmas before, I think it was the one of 7 nights they were playing. But of course, as soon as like the NEC opens its massive arena down the road, you only have to do one date in Birmingham, don't you? You don't have to hang around for a week and play to 3,000 people a night. You can just get them all into one Uber venue and keep it rolling, which is a shame.
I have lived not close, but I've lived within striking distance of Wembley Arena, and I can honestly say that was a horrible sounding gig, and I've only heard one band that actually sounded good there.
Who was that?
That was Prince.
Yeah, yeah. The only band I've ever heard sound good at Wembley was In Excess. And I wonder whether it's the because Prince and In Excess guitars are kind of similar, sort of like funky, cleaner. Maybe that kind of helps with the sound.
Right, I bet, yeah.
But the rock gigs I've been to have been just appalling.
Mm.
Now I'll throw my Wembley Arena gig that sounded good in. That was Billy Joel, which again is not.
Right.
It's not, it's not that kind of heavy kind of sound. I mean, obviously the piano dominates a lot of that, but even the guitar playing's not really, so it's a lot cleaner and the separation of everything was great, and but yes, I mean, of course, Prince is going to sound good wherever he plays because he was a genius, absolute genius. But so you're part of this thing, which I mean, Jason and I grew up with, which is this new wave of British heavy metal. Which sounds like something we kind of hark back to now, but you forget how big that really was, particularly in the early to mid 80s. And obviously you rode that wave as with bands like Leopard and Motorhead and what have you. When did it start to change? When did not say the wheels come off, but when did it become evident that maybe you'd have to, if you were going to carry on going the distance, you maybe have to change what you were doing. It wasn't quite the way it had been, because there was a lot of, I'm not saying excess in the mid 80s, but there were big gigs, lots of people coming. The rock scene was really vibrant. You got Kerrang and a couple in Raw and a couple of the magazines going. You got rock shows on the radio, on primetime radio.
I can't honestly say I know the answer to that, because bands basically please themselves. You know, they can be guided by the public, but you know, it's after the fact. It's usually a year later that you realise you shouldn't have written that album.
Is there an album in there that you think you shouldn't have written?
Oh, I led myself into that question, didn't I? I think the public might think Destiny was a mistake, but it was where we were at the time.
So I'm looking at Wikipedia now. That's 1988. To be honest, it's not an album I know. So what was Destiny like?
That was the extremely produced album with Ride Like the Wind cover on it.
Yes.
And a ballad, which our fans didn't seem to want ballads, you know.
Saxon fans don't own lighters then, is that what we're saying? They didn't like to do the whole lighter in there.
That's good. They didn't like getting their fingers burned, for sure.
Because actually I was listening to that cover of Ride Like the Wind, and it is very different, isn't it? It is very produced.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm assuming if it came out in 88, you're talking recording it 87. I mean, it was the era of massively overproduced.
That's the only excuse, I suppose, is that we were going with the flow, but we would have been better off sticking to what we knew best.
I read that you toured the States quite a few times. Sort of, I mean, I've written down that you supported Motley Crue for a while. Would that have been about the same sort of time period?
Probably a bit earlier. Probably that was probably Crusader album.
I was just wondering whether that was a conscious decision to try, and I know you had success in America, but to try and really cement that sort of success, that you went with the more produced.
I don't think America was ready for us. There are still, you know, diehard fans there, but I don't think we toured for long enough to actually break the place.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at like your contemporaries like Iron Maiden, they seem to at some points basically just live in America and tour it endlessly. I suppose it's so bloody big, isn't it? That, you know, I think I was reading Noddy Holder's book, and he was saying that, you know, they never really cracked America because they went and they just went, oh, fuck this, and just went home. Yeah. But you've probably only played in about 3 states at that point. You know, there's another 47 to go.
That's part of it, yeah. It's a continent, it's not a country as such. They behave like they're a continent as well, you know. They can be at loggerheads with each other.
Yes, this is very true. But I mean, I'm assuming that success was sustained throughout the UK and Europe. Particularly Europe, I would imagine. Europe seems to still be in love with heavy metal in the way that the UK kind of like comes in and out of, with lots of tours of Germany.
Oh yeah, I'm glad you brought that up actually, because you know, if we hadn't had Germany and the rest of Europe, we'd have been lost in the 90s.
Was that the difficult period then? Was that the period where you had to sort of find a different way of recording and working and touring to sustain it?
Yeah.
Did the band take matters more into their own hands then? Like, did you start to record at the same studio more regularly and have tours that you knew, you know, that you could eke out a living? I don't make that sound like, you know, but obviously, I'm potentially going to go and see Magnum play tonight. Now, post Nirvana, the rock world just died. I mean, it kind of disappeared for, you know, best part of the rest of that decade. And obviously at that point in time, record labels are also dropping bands left, right, and centre.
I suppose so, yeah, because you see in a lot of bands that they changed record labels to one that you've never heard of.
Yeah, it's like Castle Rock or Eagle or something, wasn't it?
In our case, we had some on theirs, yeah.
And that's part of a process then, in a lot of cases, where actually it ceases to become record labels at all, where actually you just finance and do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm guessing is where Saxon are now. If I was to guess, I don't know, but
Saxon are on the record company of the Wacken owner, Thomas Jensen. So it's not a small label as such. They've got London offices as well.
Right, so that's still the more traditional way of working with a record label rather than actually financing themselves.
Yeah, silver lining music.
So what brings about the end of your time with Saxon then? Because you're now playing with the Cards, aren't you?
What brings it about? Quite a few things. I'm not the biggest fan of travel, and navigating airports is not my forte. I can't remember the expression for it. I haven't got the world's biggest ego, although some might think it. I thought I was in the wrong place, so I took the opportunity when Biff caught COVID to bow out because I was finding it harder to remember things. It's a bit like speaking now. I'm losing words. I can't remember what I was saying.
I mean, you say you don't like travel and stuff, but I was listening to the Cards album yesterday, the latest album. The first song really took me by surprise. Is it called Moving Up, Moving On, something like that? And it came on, and I had to check that I'd got the right band because there was like Memphis horn sections and stuff on the first song, and I was like, wow, this is such a departure. And then I was on your sort of like Facebook page and stuff, and you seem to be doing or have done quite a few gigs in Europe. But then the other two members of the band, are they from mainland Europe?
Yeah, they're living in Netherlands. Yeah.
So do you fly or do you just catch a ferry over? And
I've done both, but these days I fly because the easiest way of getting there, really, because the train system's 50% better than ours.
So, I mean, it is, sounds-wise, it is quite a departure from Saxon.
You might think it with that track, but we are...
Oh, no, I listened to the whole album. There are more rock tracks on it.
We try to, branch out, basically, like in a similar way to what Destiny did. But with the brass section is all played by one guy, which is the singing bass player, Harrison Young.
So a multi-instrumentalist, is he?
All three of us are.
I know you play the harmonica as well, don't you?
Yeah. I'm not a great keyboard player, but I can handle a bit of bass and drums.
Yeah. Is this like a long-term project with these guys? I mean, how did you meet,
We met at a... festival in Germany that both Darrow, who Harrison was with, and Saxon were playing at, and my then girlfriend, who was Dutch, because I was living in The Hague at that point, met Harrison and said, "Paul's got so many ideas that don't particularly suit Saxon. Why don't you write with him?" We used to get together every Monday and throw ideas around, and that's our second album that you're talking about.
Yeah, so it just came about just as a sort of Monday night jam sort of thing, and there's a couple of albums.
And he'd used Kuhn as a session player and recommended him highly, so it is sort of a kind of Cream fan's wet dream to be in a kind of jamming three-piece.
Has the gear changed? Because I was looking at Google images of you, and I sort of like in my mind. I mean, I can't remember really what you were playing in 1984 at the Odeon, but it's kind of like I always had in my mind that you were playing Gibsons, Les Pauls, Explorers, V's type thing.
I've also all sorts.
I mean, I did notice that you've got a couple of vintage guitars. Is that the Yorkshire Mafia connection again?
No, in this respect, the what do you call that thing? The Fool, which is the Clapton copy, came about because I'd been fancying one for ages, and I use the company that import vintage guitars for other things like Floyd Rose's.
That JHS.
That's JHS, yeah, and I knew Gavin before I I think probably before he even joined Oliver Dawson and Graham Oliver's Army.
Yeah, that's Gav Coulson, isn't it? Because he was the demo guy for JHS. I know there was a big split between Saxon and the Oliver Dawson Saxon. Did you remain sort of like friends with both camps?
I tried to, but we kind of fell out because of the expense, in a similar way that the Beatles fell out for a while because of the lawyers' bills.
Yeah. But you're good now?
I'm good now, yeah. Life's too short, man.
Well, yes, I completely agree. It just seems such a shame that you'd had such a long shared history and then the big falling out, really. And then obviously the lawyers get involved, and that's just...
Yeah. A friend of both of us kind of said, why aren't you making it up? It's stupid or something.
Good friend.
Oh, yeah, she is.
So what's next, Paul? Is it more with the cards?
That's my main outlet at the present, yeah. I've sent a couple of tunes to Biff Byford, but I don't know if he's going to use them or not.
Yes, because you've not actually fully left Saxon, have you? You still record with them?
I wasn't on the last... Was I on the last album? I'm not on the live album, but I'm on the album before as a soloist. But don't ask me which songs, I've forgotten.
So one final thing before you go, and I must ask you this, and it's only because it's in the news, but obviously the new Spinal Tap movie's out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I understand there's a link between Saxon and Spinal Tap. Is it right that Harry Shearer hung out with the band for a while?
Yeah.
But you had no idea at that point, did you, what he was doing?
They were just after the anecdotes, and we gave them a few, which weren't necessarily always about us. The Not Finding the Stage was about Ozzy Osbourne, bless him.
I don't think that'll surprise many people.
No. But later on, it happened to us in Argentina. What goes around comes around, baby.
I mean, truthfully, I think the thing is, having played in bands for years, the thing about Spinal Tap is it's so well observed that we've all done similar things to what's in the film.
Yeah.
Intentionally or unintentionally, and it's just kind of, I don't know if you've seen the second one. I went to the cinema a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I was terrified, genuinely terrified that they were going to just, 40 years on, it would be terrible. That was, don't tarnish the legend.
Yeah.
But actually, whilst I think the first one is great, I think the second one is good. And I did laugh. And my two mates, who had also played in bands, we laughed all the way through it. I'm not sure it justifies repeated viewings like the first one, but it is genuinely amusing.
How did you feel when you saw the movie first time round, knowing that he'd spent a bit of time on the road with you?
Shock, mostly, that it was that well observed, that you would find yourself laughing and then think, oh shit, they know what they're talking about.
Well, Paul, thank you very much for your time. It's been lovely to talk to you.
Pleasure.
And good luck with everything. Obviously, with the cards moving forward. Let us know if you're playing anywhere around. If you're playing in our county at any point in time, because everywhere I see you gigging seems to be abroad.
Yeah. Where's Jason? You're.
I'm in Birmingham.
Birmingham itself. Ooh. Yeah, we did that with supporting My Memory. Anyway, we did it as a sport band. I think it was the O2.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah. We've got two in Birmingham, confusingly. O2 Institute and O2 Academy. On any given night, you'll see like 40 people wandering across the city because they've gone to the wrong one.
Oh, yeah. An American fan did the same. Should call 103, shouldn't they?
I think O3 is the greatest thing I've heard today. I think that's the greatest thing that's been put forward by anybody in an age. Thanks for that, Paul. Right, good luck with everything.
Okay.
Jace, I'll catch up with you as and when.
All right.
Congratulations on the guitar show.
Thank you.
Obviously selling out.
Thank you.
He's looking a bit smug, everybody, just so you're aware.
Not smug, just relieved.
Okay.
Just means I get to be self-employed for another 12 months.
Now next year then for us.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks for listening to 9 to 42, the podcast from the team at the Guitar Show UK. If you've enjoyed the show, then please remember to hit the subscribe button and share with other like-minded souls. For more information about 9 to 42, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram at the Guitar Show UK. This has been an A Short Stories production.